What would you like to say?
Hi, James. Well, first of all, I'd like to politely ask if you could stop guzzling that corporate cock under your desk for a couple of seconds. Boy.
Okay.
Much obliged. All right. If you could mute when you're not talking, please. I can still hear the corporate semen gargling its way around your soft palate there. It is quite distracting. Thanks. So, what I'd like to talk about is, for a starter, is this tweet by former England striker and current greedy bastard Gary Lineker. If you boo at England players for taking the knee, you're part of the reason why players are taking the knee. It's important that we pay attention here because we're experiencing this thing called consequence culture right now. That's where consequences happen as a result of actions. Pretty simple stuff, right? Well, apparently not. It turns out actions can happen after their own consequences, according to Mr. Lineker. Apparently, they were taking the knee because people booed them in the future.
So you booed the reasons that they haven't said?
That sentence doesn't make sense, James, even in context. That's what I'm talking about. You need to pay attention. James, will you please stop fidgeting?
Yes.
Right, now then. This is madness. This tweet. It is madness of the absolute kind. To claim your actions are justified by any resistance against them, even in potentia, is... You have to be insanely drunk on power to stand by this argument. Like 3 sheets to the wind, blackout drunk on power. Pie-eyed, sozzled out of the shop, found unconscious under a stairwell the next morning and reported as a possible corpse drunk on power. It is a reversal of causality, a reversal of action and consequence, of cause and effect, as a flagrantly tyrannical excuse to get away with anything you want without consequences. If you could describe actions as their own consequences and vice versa, you could describe anything as anything. You're a cognitive time traveler. The sky is not even the limit. But it's by no means a newly emergent argument. We've seen it before. It's known as Lewis's law in feminist spheres. It's sort of like Godwin's law, that kind of law. Lewis's law states that the comments on any article about feminism justify feminism. If a feminist makes a claim and someone responds, that's incorrect, then that response alone proves the feminist is correct. Yes, this really is a thing, and yes, this is what feminists actually believe. If you said it about anything else other than your favourite thing, it would sound as insane as it is. I could say it about myself. I could say, any resistance against my will is proof that my will should not be resisted. Ipso facto, on your knees, bitch. Anyone who said that would sound like a crazy person whom you would avoid. You say it about an ideology like feminism or Marxism, and that part of the brain just switches off. In those of us who have been driven completely mad. I mean, completely, foot in mouth, head up, ass, balls to the wall, bonkers by that ideology. You literally are on your knees, bitch. And this has clearly, evidently happened to Gary Lineker. He has gone out of his mind over a shell corporation for a Marxist cult known as Black Lives Matter.
Have you tried not to think that?
Excuse me?
Have you tried not to think that?
One more time, James.
Have you tried not to think that? Have you tried to think about the words?
See, that does make sense, even out of context. It makes sense in any context. It paints you as the helplessly flummoxed, desperately superstitious, straw-clutching, slow zombie that you are in any context. What doesn't make sense is how the hell you are paid to say shit like this in a broadcasted medium. Have you tried thinking, James?
But have you tried thinking about what the words actually mean?
I'll take that as a no. Black Lives Matter is not just some words, James. Now, you know this, don't you? the cult you follow, the cult that has broken what was ever left of your brain, is not just an abstract set of symbols, as and when you feel like it. It is an organization. If you write a check to Black Lives Matter, it will not get cashed by the incorporeal spiritual concept of the sentiment that Black Lives Matter. It will not get whisked up into the ether and dispersed among the black population in the currency of goodwill. This, incidentally, indicates how it is different from, for instance, the men's rights movement. If you write a check to the men's rights movement, there will be no one to cash it, because it isn't an organisation. It's not even an ideology. It really is just a set of words. But you can indeed donate money to Black Lives Matter, just like many people and many giant corporations have, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and those funds go directly to the coffers of Marxist professors who skedaddle away and spend it on various mansions in Beverly Hills, which doesn't go indirectly to fund the DNC. I am not just pointing out a hypocrisy of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. It's a billion of one and 0 of the other in terms of capital controlled and violent harm caused. But you've got it completely... Just like if you think Antifa is just an idea, but you think involuntary celibacy is a terrorist group, then you're not just a hypocrite. You are utterly ass backwards, topsy-fucking-turvy wrong. You are in upside-down land. You can claim an organisation is just a set of words, and you can claim a set of words is an organisation. You're not just inconsistent. You're not just wrong half of the time. You are consistently hitting the wrong key on every note, which ironically is even more difficult than hitting the right key on every note. You're a virtuoso in getting shit wrong, because your mind has been hijacked and turned to mush by this Marxist cult. They are not booing the words, James. They're not booing just the words Black Lives Matter, and you know it. They're booing the actions of an organisation. They're booing the ethics of an organisation. If I protested against the popular retailer brand known as Mothercare, if Mothercare ever did displayed questionable ethics, and so I don't know, they don't seem to have changed their logo to a rainbow since June the 1st, so let's go with that. If I said, I think Mothercare has some questionable ethical practices, you wouldn't then respond by saying, have you tried just not thinking that? Have you tried just thinking of it as the words Mothercare? Look, as if by magic it's a different thing now. You can't possibly hate mothers caring, surely. You see it now, don't you? You can see how only a rube with a brain so smooth it could conduct maglev trains would seriously think they could do that. That they could just play peekaboo behind an invisible wall and get away with it. It is extraordinary to me how wrong people can be in so few words. Increasingly extraordinary, or increasingly ordinary, as the case may be.
The polar opposite of respecting it, mate, is booing it. I'm afraid it couldn't be a bigger U-turn or a more violent opposition to respect than the idea of booing something.
Actually, mate, I'd say the polar opposite of respecting something, mate, might be burning it down and destroying it, and then forcibly annexing it as your territory. I would deign to call that more disrespectful and more of a violent opposition, James, than the utterance of a low-pitched humming sound in protest. If Black Lives Matter did nothing but stand there and boo all those innocent lives and livelihoods, I would consider that a lot more respectful than what they have done and are still doing. James, you shimmering slice of cunt, and will you stop fucking gurning, you crackhead? What is wrong with you?
What do you think the word support means?
Let me guess. It means whatever the fuck you want it to be.
You can ask me the same question if you want.
Okay, I will. Does support mean you're not allowed to express disapproval? Does supporting your family mean you have to step back and shut the fuck up whenever they're setting fire to the dog? Or when they join a gang that goes around setting fire to dogs? What can we do? Can we perhaps wag our finger and give a disapproving look to someone whose existence we support, but whose current behaviour we do not. Oh, would that too be the most violently disrespectful thing you could think of? In a conversation about organised mob violence. Who the fuck is this lungworm AIDS pig? Why does he have a job? Why does he, of all people, still have a job?
What do you do for a living?
Thanks for asking. I'm a comedian.
Okay, so if I came into your office and started booing you and disrespecting you...
James, shut the fuck up. It's not nice when you're the one being constantly interrupted, is it? It feels almost disrespectful. But, yeah, James, if you came into my office and booed at me... I would politely redirect you to the venue at which I am performing my act. Whereas, if you stood in a large crowd in a stadium, and from there you tried to quietly ask the management if you could lodge a formal complaint, in that instance, I would politely redirect you to the office. Do you see the thing there? Office environments and stadium environments are very different. It's so very different that one can only receive articulate queries and the other can only receive inarticulate communiques. Again, one is an organisation, the other is not. Do you see what I did there? When you said, "What about this other thing?" You see how I responded? I responded by explaining to you the crucial and applicable difference between those things. I didn't just say, whatever!
How big's your flag?
Sorry?
How big's your flag?
What, the rainbow one? Big enough, thanks for asking.
All right, and how hard do you wave it when you're booing the England players?
As hard as my cock can get. I have the police on my side.
Oh, call yourself a football fan?
Why don't you just look at the words football fan? Why don't you just not think? Why don't you just not have those nasty thoughts of yours? Do you even remember saying that?
Seriously, keep your thoughts, that's fine.
God, His Majesty's generosity knows no bounds. Thank you, sire. I will endeavour to keep my thoughts after all. You are truly merciful. 1,000 blessings, 1,000 pardons, 1,000 kisses on that corporate cock up your ass that I presume is the thing making you squirm so much.
Can't you just keep quiet for a month?
A month to flatten the curve, right?
I don't care.
No, not in the slightest. And yet you swan around morally grandstanding like you're the only one who does care. Have fun with your riches, James. Have fun with your mansion, with your career, and with your independent wealth. I would not dream of burning them down or quote-unquote cancelling you. But I will. If your Majesty will please allow it, I will go ahead and express how I feel about your practices and your behaviour. Boo. Sir. Fucking boo.